Alrighty, folks, Hispanic Americans and Mexicans. The vast majority of Hispanic Americans and Mexicans are going to live in the west of the United States and are going to be employed in California factories and shipyards. Okay, so just like today, where the vast majority of Hispanic Americans tend to live in the American Southwest, the same thing was going to be happening during World War II. Now, there's a number of reasons for this, especially when it comes for Mexicans. The number one reason is this area, one, borders Mexico. Number two, historically speaking, it was a part of Mexico before the Mexican-American War, and then ultimately annexation as well. Now, bilingualism, the ability to speak two languages, is going to be incredibly important during the war. And a lot of these workers are going to work as cryptologists, linguists, designing code and making sure that there were ways for the Americans to communicate that the enemy could not figure out, and then as nurses to make sure that these soldiers are taken care of, provided for, and when they are wounded in battle, they are healed in a quick, efficient way. There is going to be a labor shortage in the United States as well, which is going to lead to an increase in migrant workers. So as we've talked about previously, okay, a lot of the men are going to be leaving their jobs in the factories and going off to fight in the war, meaning someone's got to step into their shoes and fill their role while they are gone. So we're going to have people of color, we're going to have women, we're going to have a lot of migrant workers as well moving into the United States to take care of these jobs and work in these factories to help with the war effort. Bracero program going on, starting in August of 1942, is going to allow for temporary short-term workers from Mexico to move to the United States to help fill this labor shortage. Businesses that are taking a part of this program need to provide fair wages, decent housing, and medical care to anyone who they are hiring as a part of this program. So a lot of Mexicans are going to be leaving Mexico, moving to the United States to work, to make some money, but also they're going to have fair wages, decent housing, and then medical care while they are there. Now, we're going to get the Zoot Suit riots. The Zoot Suit riots are going to be a result of ethnic tension between Hispanic workers, and English-speaking sailors. So, as I've already stated, a lot of these workers are working in the shipyards, The sailors are coming in, they're leaving their ships for a little bit of time off, and there starts to be a lot of tension between the Americans who are speaking English, and the Mexican Hispanic workers right through there as well, even if not Mexican, just Hispanic workers. And they're going to be really treating them quite poorly. A lot of racial slurs, a lot of racial undertones going on right through here. The Zoot Suit riots are going to be named after the clothing worn by underage Mexican-American men called pachuchos. And the servicemen, as a result of this, are going to beat the youth, strip them of their flamboyant clothes, and cut their hair. So they're going to basically just go all out race riot, so to speak, to make sure that these English speakers are going to be telling the Hispanic workers really how they feel. Meanwhile, the police are just going to stand back and watch and let it happen. So the police are not going to get involved, even though there is definitely a crime being committed in front of them. They don't really do anything about it, which we can talk about a little bit more in depth, understanding the racial kind of undertones that are happening right through here, and how the police really aren't getting involved to stop it. This is going to hurt productivity, as you can imagine. If you're one of those Mexican workers who is just beaten up, you're probably not going to want to work for these sailors who are treating you so poorly. The government is going to respond to this incident by stopping shore leave for sailors and then banning them from downtown Los Angeles as a way of trying to just keep these two groups apart. So you did this, we're going to keep you apart, and then it can't happen again. So it was some form of response. You could argue whether or not this was an effective response, if this response went far enough. You could really take that either way, depending on the perspective you'd like to go with that. Might be a good way to kind of look at that one as well. Now, we're going to also talk about the New Mexico National Guard. The New Mexico National Guard is going to be sent to the Philippines before Pearl Harbor. Now, historically speaking, the Philippines were colonized by the Spanish, meaning a lot of locals in the Philippines could speak Spanish. As a result of this, the New Mexico National Guard, which had a large number of Spanish speakers, are going to go over there because they can communicate with the locals. However, they're going to be undersupplied and outmatched by the Japanese when the Japanese are expanding their empire, ultimately taking over the Philippines. A result of this, though, many are going to die in the Bataan Death March, where the Japanese were marching their soldiers out, or marching their prisoners out, and just basically working them to death. A number of these individuals from the New Mexico National Guard were going to die in that march. After the war, many of these Hispanic speakers are going to be treated incredibly poorly. Many are going to take advantage of the GI Bill, okay, to gain in education. Now, the GI Bill is a program that allows soldiers to go to school for free to gain in education. Many Mexicans and Hispanics are going to take advantage of this after the war, and it's going to lead to their push for greater civil rights. Questions, comments, put it below. Otherwise, I will see you later. Good luck.